Welcome to the Dan Stevens Show, coming at you from Liverpool, in England, in the United Kingdom. Today's episode, I will primarily focus on the experience of being a lone customer in a restaurant where it feels like it's just you and the chef, because he's literally watching you through the chef's hatch. It's like a one-on-one of him just serving you food, watching you eat it, and you have to adjust your reactions accordingly, depending on his demeanour and mood and the music that's playing in the kitchen. All of that I will cover on today's episode. Just for a bit of context, I'm in Liverpool. It's Monday. I did a gig, the new act night in the Hot Water Comedy Club in Liverpool last night. What an unbelievable building that is. Blackstock Market. You walk in, massive space. Used to be a warehouse. I think it was a bus depot or something like that. And it's just everything. You could spend a day. If they did breakfast in there, you could spend the whole day in there. There's just all the food you could want, all the drinks you could want. The World Cup final happened to be on while the show was on. So it was an amazing experience. The guy who owns it was there. He's in the beating heart of the green room, doing the lineups, watching the show. The show is on a TV screen in the green room, so he's watching you. I was doing it in Wally's room, which is one of the little theatres in there. It's about 150 capacity, I think. There was probably about 100 to 120 people there. And it went well, in my mind. But you never know when you go to a new place and do comedy. You never know what standards you're being judged to, because I don't see the shows here regularly. I don't know what the standard is like. But in my mind, I think coming from Ireland, we are at a pretty good standard of stand-up comedy in Dublin in particular, because we perform to international audiences all the time. So you have to have universally understood jokes. You don't get away with the local references or local lingo or muffled speech or localized vernacular, I guess. You can't, just speaking too quickly, I suppose, and unclearly, it doesn't wash. Whereas me as a Dublin man could go to Waterford and they'd be like, oh, they know your accent, or wherever, or Limerick or something, and it's fine. But in front of people from different countries, it's a different story. And then if it's people that don't have English as their first language, I say forget about it. For me, anyway, they don't get the nuance in perceived meaning of things, or in, when something is unspoken, what I might mean. The gaps in suggestiveness. You kind of have to spell it out for them, because yes, they may have learned the language, but they don't know the ways of it. I think to a large extent, US, UK audiences, Canadian, obviously English speaking countries, they get the Irish charm and the whatever, and people's idiosyncrasies in general. I think they understand it no matter where you're from. But when it goes to performing to people where English isn't the second language, such as in Krakow, I learned that, in Poland. Never gone back there again, even for a holiday. Lovely place, but no. Nice donuts. Other than that, no thank you. Had a bad experience there. So the World Cup was on. I had a thought about the World Cup. I actually was thinking of a couple. I watched the extra time of the game. I had a drink with the owner after. They gave me a room in the building and everything. They treated me really well. Like such nice people at Hot Water Comedy Club. If you're visiting Liverpool, go and see it. It's unbelievable, honestly. But the owner, Binti is his name. Just an absolute, I don't know what a pioneer. He designed every corner of it. It's hard to describe, but it's the biggest comedy club in the world now, and it's just amazing. He brought me into the whiskey bar, bought me a whiskey after. I got the bedroom. He gave me a room. Amazing. And then I got to watching the World Cup final extra time. And one thought that came into my mind watching the England versus Argentina game the other day was every time Bellingham got the ball or Messi, and this is like a regular thing in football, but say for example, it's Cristiano Ronaldo against Spain. This is a prime example, and every time he touches the ball, the crowd boos. He gets the ball and they go boo. I was thinking, imagine what it would be like if everyone cheered. Surely that would be confusing for him. That would be more off-putting. Imagine he gets the ball and everybody unites in cheering for him. How much that would freak him out. I think that should be tried at least once in a soccer match where there's strong rivals playing and there's a player that they don't like. It'd be like when Ronaldo played against Liverpool for Man United. Imagine everybody just cheered him and started singing together about him. Anyway, it was just a random, useless thought. This happens as well, doing stand-up. This happens to me, especially before what I would perceive to be big gigs or important tests, like last night's gig. I'll come up with a joke before it, and then it will be like, oh no, will I do that? It's really good. Will I do it or just stick to what's been working for me? And I convinced myself not to do it because I'm almost 4 years into stand-up comedy now. And I view my material as tried and tested. But to a new audience, it's brand new. So if you're a stand-up comedian listening to this, or a comedy fan, or whatever, just remember that a joke that I've done 200 times, it's still the first time the audience is hearing it, so it's a new joke for them. But the joke was, anyway, that my brother and me, when we were growing up, we used to play up front for the local soccer team. And he's a bigger fella than me, like he's a big lump of a fella. Two of us played as the strikers. And my dad's a very funny fella. He nicknamed us Massive Attack. That was the joke. He didn't do that. He probably would have if we did play as strikers together for a local soccer team. But I was like, will that work in Liverpool? They love soccer. The World Cup is on. But no, I was due to do 5 minutes of comedy. I ended up doing 10. He asked me, did I want to do 10 minutes? I said, absolutely. And as far as I know, it went well. Who knows what they're saying? They evaluate every act and talk about how bookable they are and all that. Like I heard them talking about a different act. So I just don't know. Who knows? Anyway, this restaurant experience was just, my mind goes to all sorts of places when I'm sitting in a restaurant by myself. And today, I'll be honest, I brought my notebook down to the restaurant. Didn't bring the phone. And I took notes of what was going through my mind through the whole process of having a 3-course meal. There was a set menu in the Novotel restaurant for £24. Obviously starters, mains, dessert. I was like, I'll have a bit of that. I just kind of eat once a day, one big meal a day. And the dynamic was, yes, just me in the whole place. The waitress comes over to me and I said, yeah, I'll get the chicken wings to start. And she's like, oh, let me just check. So she goes over to the hatch where I can see in the hatch where the chef is. I sat myself in the wrong seat. But once you're down, you can't move. I'm looking in and I can't see. And he's not in there. The chef isn't in there. He was off somewhere. I don't know what he was doing. So I already felt like an inconvenience. I'm like, oh, he's probably on his break. Like, there's no one else here. It's just me. And I was trying to put myself in his situation of like, would he be like? It depends on the person, I suppose. But in this scenario, where he'd usually have nobody there all day, I'm sure. But I come in swinging with me three courses, and I'm sure all the pots and pans are away. He has to get the stuff out and do it all up, and it's for one person. uh, so eventually she goes back to me and says, "Yeah, there is chicken wings." I was like, "Oh, great!" But even though they're on the menu, so there should be like, there's no. Yeah, like I didn't really care anyway. I was just hungry. I'm not that picky. Anyway, the food comes out. The wings were fine. No side dip, but they were covered in sauce. That was fine. Main dish was very nice. A beef and Guinness pie with this mash that he put a bit of effort into, and a little tub of gravy. I was like, yeah, that's nice. It was lovely. There's nothing worse than when a pie comes out and it's not a pastry. It's just potato on top of it. Not for me, that. And I finished the food, and I can see the chef in there, big arms on him. He's a big fella, And I thought, you know what, I'll I try and make eye contact. It's so weird being in a restaurant by yourself, and the chef, he was watching me. When you catch the chef watching you eating the food, be like getting dinner off your wife, and she just watches you eating it. Imagine the scrutiny. He shouldn't be watching me. I don't think that's. I don't know what the usual procedure is. Is the chef told not to watch the customers eating through the hatch? But he was taking a few looks at me to see if I was enjoying it, so I had to act accordingly. It was like, he was over to me that way, to my right. Oh yeah, lovely. So, and he was listening to Notorious B.I.G. in the kitchen while he was making my food, and I was like, this fella, he's confident. He's feeling it today. I was like, I'm in for a good biggie, biggie, biggie. Can't you see? Listening to Hypnotize. Yeah, it would. You'd be hoping that he's listening to the right kind of music when he's making your food. If it was something depressing, all around me are familiar, you wouldn't. There'd be no gusto in them potatoes. But he was listening to good music. He was in good form. He was buzzing off the waitress, the server. I could hear them having a bit of banter. I was like, oh, lovely. And, I didn't catch his eye at the right time to give him a thumbs up for the beef and Guinness pie. But I said, the waitress picked it up. And I said, that's a great dish, that. Send my compliments to the chef. So she did. And I heard it. I could hear her going, oh, you like that? He said, that's a great dish, that. And the chef goes, yeah, I know. You know me. I was like, I wanted to take those compliments back. It's like, that. I wanted him to look out at me and be like, I was looking, when she went off with the play into him, I was looking through the gap, for him to look out and go, yeah. There was no look, just him. I heard him saying, I wanted to catch eyes and go, chef's kiss, mate. To a chef, imagine. But he was real cocky. Then I got the cheesecake for dessert, and I just purposely was like, ugh. Yeah, it was lovely. But I purposely did the body language that suggested it wasn't. Had another experience in a cafe yesterday then that was. It's these moments that catch me where I don't know if you get this, but I think we all do. But did you ever catch yourself when an emotion is coming onto you? So I'm in this cafe pretentious. It's called, I won't say the name of it, but it's a French name. And it's one of these long ones that's really wooden and shiny. It's the service doesn't match the look, put it that way. And they have their pastries behind glass cases. And you sit down, and I was waiting ages to get served. There's young women working there that clearly don't know what they're doing. I think they might have been related to the owners. They don't want to be there. So I sit there, and she goes, "Oh, do you want to sit down?" I said, "Yeah." And then she gives me a menu. She gives me a menu and doesn't come back for 20 minutes. And I'm getting really, I was like hungry, and I was getting really, I was nearly going to get up in a huff and walk out. And then I just caught myself feeling like that, and I went, you know what, this is actually, because there was loads of other people there, and she was doing the same to them. She was basically just focused on giving people their food and not taking orders. So a lot of people were getting quite huffy. And so I just switched my mindset. I said, look, I'm hungry, but I'll survive. Let's just enjoy this. This is like something you'd see on a TV show and enjoy. Enjoy the pissed off reactions of all the other customers and enjoy them all going. And I was like, I don't want to be one of them today. I want to be an observer. And I'll get my stuff eventually. I'll get my cappuccino and pan au chocolate. Eventually. So I just sat there and I watched everything. I watched the people who were all just as pissed off as me as I had been a couple of minutes before. And I felt them being pissed off. And I enjoyed it thoroughly. And I watched the incompetence of the two girls that were working there. And I really enjoyed that as well. I was like, this is great television, man. I saw eventually, she took my order eventually, and I decided as well, I was like, you know what, I'm going to actually be really nice to them as well. I'm going to be real nice to the girls that are serving me. One of them took my order, the other one ended up bringing my massive pan of chocolate and coffee to the table. And I said, I'm going to make a nice comment now, and she won't expect this. She's used to her not wanting to be there and everyone being pissed off, so I'm going to break that cycle a little bit for her. So she drops the pan of chocolate down, and I said, my God, that's the biggest pan of chocolate I've ever seen. Looks like a big burger. No reaction, just haha. She kind of goes, haha. See, it can backfire on you when you try to break someone's misery cycle. It can backfire. They just kind of glitch. Yeah, so be careful when you're doing that, because then it makes you go, ugh, ugh. Stops you in your tracks, you know. So the two girls had been pissing everyone off. And there's a woman behind the counter, and I'm pretty sure it's her husband and her that run it, or that own it. And the husband's coming in, and I see him telling off the two girls behind the counter, and then he's going to every table. Are you enjoying your meal? You know, they're all eating their avocado and eggs and stuff. Are you enjoying your meal? Didn't ask me. I don't know. So just yet another dining experience that I enjoyed. I got a nice reaction when I came out to the bar after I performed last night. This fella was sitting there with the English equivalent of Mr. Price, bargain home or something, a really brutal bag with stuff in it. He had like the Richie Kavanagh hair sticking out. Now I know I have that a bit, but he was very fat, and there was definitely some sort of mental illness there with him. He was sitting there by himself, and I come out to get a good sit. Now nobody was sitting near him, but it's a perfect spot to watch the match. Perfect view of the television. So I sat down a few tables down from him. I had a pint of Stella. Next thing he goes, oh, and I saw him, he was at the show as well. I was sitting down the back when the other acts were on. I saw him there. taking up nearly 2 seats with his hair just sticking out. And he says to me, "Oh, great performance there, mate. I love that joke about turning the olive oil into vinegar." I said, "Man, I don't have a joke about that. That was someone else." "Oh, all right." So he's like, "Can you give me some advice?" And I was like, this is when nobody's sitting near him. He's like, "Can you give me some advice? I have 10 minutes of comedy. I've done comedy before. How would you advise me to best memorise? How do you memorise everything? And could you give me advice about memorising me jokes?" I was like, "You just mistook my joke for a different person's joke that you were in that show you were just watching. I don't think there's much hope for you remembering your own ones." But anyway, I gave him a little bit of advice. He was he's sitting to my right, and I'd look up at the match, and he'd be like, "Look at that in a minute. Look at that in a minute. Don't be looking at that now. You talk to me now." I was like, "Oh," and four of the security men just gathered about 10 yards away, and I was like, "What is going on here?" And they're all watching. But I just chatted to him for about 20 minutes. He kept asking me questions. I'll be honest, I didn't get to see much of the match at all, because he kept asking me questions about comedy. But he's like, "Thanks for being so kind to me." And then he started going like, "I have to get me bus in a minute, but did you ever see the silhouettes in your living room?" And he starts talking about this stuff, and I was like, "Oh yeah, yeah." Then he nipped off then. So yeah, that's why no one was sitting near him. So this is obviously a solo Tuesday episode. We haven't had one of them in a while. I'll be getting some guests on over the next few weeks. Please follow on Spotify and rate 5 stars. I'll just get that in now. I'm not quite finished yet, but please do. And if you're watching on YouTube, please like, subscribe, share with someone wherever you're listening. That would be great. One more thing. There's a new expression now in the UK. I don't know if it's spread to Ireland yet, but I can confirm that it's definitely gone mainstream in the UK, because the MC in the comedy gig I was doing last night said it on stage a few times, kind of in jest, but it was there. So the word is pussy-o. And it seems to be when someone is being started on, or expecting a confrontation, or initiating a confrontation, they go, "Pussy-o." And it's across races. It doesn't matter who you are. You can say it. "Pussy-o." It's like you're a coward, I think. So language is certainly progressing very well. I mean, we've gone from, "Sir, you have dishonoured me in many different ways. I challenge you to a duel," to "Pussy-o." Words like that annoy me. It's just devolution of language. But it kind of means more, doesn't it? Like it's if someone's calling you pussy-o, that you might be in for a fight, or at least a heated argument. I haven't been called it yet. I wouldn't like to be in a situation where I'm called it. I think roadmen do it. That's another new type of human now. Roadman. I think they hide their faces and may or may not be carrying large knives. I think they're called roadmen because they just are on the road all the time, standing on it, or hanging around and loitering on the road, calling people pussy-o. Pussy-o. So weird. I think the English language hit its peak many years ago and then just started regressing. But at least there's still a lot of good words there to enjoy. Such as miscreant. That's one that I just was thinking about today. Just someone who misbehaves, really. It's probably miscreants that say pussy out the most. So I hope that doesn't... I could never say that word. It's not in me. I could never call someone a pussy out. I never will. If it comes over to Ireland, maybe it's here already. I don't know, but hopefully it never does. Anyway, we're going to leave it there. Thank you for watching or listening. This is the Dan Stevens Show, and I will see you again soon. Thank you.